I'd like to introduce you to the Henley Choir.
Welcome everyone, it's so great to see you here. We've got, I'm going to tell you what we're going to do this evening, but first the person who started speaking and didn't quite introduce herself was Audrey Drodsky, our MBA director. So what we're doing this evening is a couple of things. The first, what's most important, I think, we've got John Board over from the UK, who will probably appreciate being called the most important part of the evening, and Gudrun Kumar, equally important, I have to say, who heads the global alumni. What we'd like to do tonight is really launch the idea of the expanded new global alumni and show the part that South African alumni will be able to play within that, and the advantages you'll get within that, and also to launch really a much more active South African alumni activity. And within that, we're also, after I introduce, John Board's going to talk a little bit about the history of Henley Business School. I'll talk a little bit more about South African end of business school. And then Paul Runga, who is sitting down here, is going to give us a fantastic, I'll introduce him in a minute, a fantastic experience of some of the stuff we do around success stories in Africa. So we're going to run through some of that stuff, and at the end of the evening, we'll have some time for chats and questions. We'll have a draw, so don't run away without seeing if you won a prize, and then we'll be able to mix and mingle. So the purpose of the evening is really bring together and reactivate the alumni network, show you some of the new things we're doing in Henley. Sound all right? Good. So it's my great pleasure to introduce Professor John Board, Dean of Henley Business School globally, who is running our activities around the world, and we're very pleased you've come to join us, John, for the graduation, which was a great experience a couple of days ago. John, maybe you'd like to come and start talking about Henley. Thank you.
It's always embarrassing starting to talk about anything, because as Dean I don't know anything about anything these days. So I apologise in advance for having nothing to say. I also apologise in advance for having been told to talk for at least 20 minutes, which as a Dean makes it at least 30 minutes obligatory. I also apologise because I'm British, so I have to keep doing this. I'm standing here like a lemon in front of the lectern. And that's because Henley might be a great business school in the world. It occurs to me we might be the only business school in the world with an in-house choir. And we also appear to be poverty-stricken enough that we don't have enough lapel mics for everybody. So I was told to stand here and talk in a loud voice so you won't actually realise that this microphone doesn't work either. So that's now 30 seconds, oh blimey. That's now 30 seconds without an apology. So I'm now also going to apologise for the fact that, first slide is coming up now. I'm an economist, and therefore you can just assume the slide has changed. That's another economist joke. Thank you very much. This is a clicker that doesn't work either. Did any of you have you ever seen Star Trek? It's one of the moments you sort of feel old. You realise I've got no content to cover at all, so I'll call you with this. The one advantage of being Dean that everyone has to be too polite to say this is nonsense. I won't say I grew up with Star Trek, because that wouldn't be quite true. But you know, they walk through and the doors open and all of that. What I didn't realise was in 1969, that was even before they had automatically opening doors. And apparently when they made the first Star Trek, there were two people off screen. Just opening the doors like that. So you think, oh, I've learned something now. Right, I might be 96 years old, having watched Star Trek ever since, but it's quite nice to see it. And I was talking with our friend over there earlier on about how much of business has changed. And the nice thing was, so there's my Star Trek story that establishes my age. And I'm not sure if many of you follow the airline industry. So in Germany, they've decided, anyone from Germany here? No, just checking. It's the country of precision. Sorry, Gudrun, I apologise. She and I were talking about this over dinner last night. It's a country of precision that likes engineering and things like this. And so a great engineering project was launched, I think 9 years ago in Berlin, to build a new airport. And it was led by the government. John's looking really worried because it's got nothing to do with the history of Henley. Gudrun's looking terrified because I'm down to 7.5 minutes. That's 2 slides. Anyway, the upshot of the story is, it's a fine example of Germany completely lousing up a major project. Therefore, coming from Britain as I do and being happy to apologise for almost everything, there's a certain joy in seeing a German project going wrong. I make no mention at all of Volkswagen and other things. And the nice thing about this German project, it was let, of course, after full competitive tendering, and I think there are 18 companies involved in constructing the fire safety arrangements of Berlin's new airport. And they don't work. And so the solution proposed by the Berlin government when the International Airport Inspection Agency came round to check this was, yeah, you've got it. They had one person standing by each fire door permanently, so when the fire alarm goes off, your job is to close your door. So it proves that Germany has learned something from Star Trek as well. Right, I now have a clicker that I'm told works. Here we have a picture of Henley. Those of you who've been there will recognise it. Those of you who haven't been there, that's it. It's jolly nice. It's not, the original building was put up, I think, in 1526. but that isn't it. It illustrates another important part of business life, which is put up in 15, whenever it was, or even beyond before that. There's a lovely estate and so forth. The guy who owned it made a big mistake, which was we had a civil war in the UK some time ago, and he picked the wrong side. Okay, in those days, if you pick the wrong side, you die, your family die, and then the real tragedy is they knock your house down. So this is not the original house because the guy picked the wrong side in the Civil War. So if I say I think the British political establishment stinks, that guarantees that your children won't see that building either. Okay, if you care, my office is in the top left-hand corner. That matters a lot because my mother doesn't actually believe that I do any work, or do I? And she spent 30 years saying, I won't do a Central European accent, but John, when are you going to get a job? And she never believed it. I worked at the LSE, I did consulting for the stock exchange, and that's just me bigging myself up, just in case my ego goes out of control. Anyway, eventually I showed her that. I said, that's my office in the top left-hand corner. She said, oh, that's good, that's a real job. That's the only reason I show this picture. Right, slightly more seriously, this is the 70th anniversary of Henley. I do talk occasionally about why I think this is a great business school, and probably that top line there is important. I say the top line there because I haven't got any notes, so I'm completely reliant on the slide I can see over there. Yeah. But since I'm too old to have anything with glasses, I can't really see. I would say a joke about Harold Macmillan here, but I won't. We were founded on the 12th of October 1945. You'll notice I had to do this without a microphone. You can't hear me, but it doesn't matter because it doesn't make any sense anyway. We were founded on the 12th of October 1945, which, if you care, was 25,257 days ago. Okay, and that's not quite a palindromic number, but it's actually quite close to being a prime number. You'll also be completely aware that anyone who stands at the front without notes quoting numbers is lying to you. I just thought I'd tell you that in case you thought I was even more of a nerd than I am. But it was 158 days after the end of the Second World War. And that's kind of odd. It says two things. I can't remember what the second one is. It means if we're founded at that time, it's right after the end of the war. It means anyone who is invited or takes part in something to do with business and managing business better is acutely aware of the needs to balance business and some kind of reconstruction. Right, there's a society being rebuilt, and if you establish something, especially a nice building like the Thames, it means something. So as a business school, when people ask, well, why is this a great business school? Answer, 158 days after the war means something. In much the same way, of course, as the history of Henley, which John will talk about in South Africa, has other repercussions. So we were built by business leaders to improve the quality of that rubbish. It says developing people, like that. I typed it, so it should have meant something. I'm not sure. I think that we do have a bodybuilding site, so maybe that's what it's about. Okay, so we're developing people like that, rather than managerial. You don't have to actually carry rails like that around. That's the engineering. The guy at the bottom left is a chap called Hall, who was the first principal. I liked it when I started this job. I looked younger than he does. Now I'm a bit more worried. That's why I've got glasses on. That's to tell the difference. You look from one of us to the other, and you can't tell the difference. And those chaps there are, well, I don't know who they are. They're just chaps with pipes. But they're looking really business-like. But the important thing, since we're talking about matters that business doesn't really change, you notice even then in business photographs there's always an office machine nearby. Right? It's the white heat of the technological revolution, of the chronometer and the slider. Okay, the pipe, if you've got the original, if you buy the Henley book, the pipe you can take out. Okay. The other great thing is, like all good businesses, because Henley, we do what we preach. And as you know, whenever a business goes through hard times, the first thing you do is you rebrand yourself. So we kicked off in 1945, 100 and something or other days after the Second World War finished, or 25,296 days because it's Christmas somewhere. We were called the Administrative Staff College. It's a nice name, redolent of guys with pipes like that. Then we changed after a while because it got a bit boring called the Administrative Staff College, and we called ourselves the Management College. That's a nice British idea, right? You don't have to specify anything. We're the college. Then there was a bit of competition. I think Harvard opened up or something like that. So we decided we should be Henley, the Management College. That was kind of quite dramatic. And then they got a bit on how to become Henley Management College. Okay, because that was in the 1960s when everything was short and snappy, so lose a colon. When I say lose a colon, that's not a joke. So we've been all of those things. You see the clicker doesn't work after all. I'm not actually pressing the button, I just needed a comic effect. Well, my contribution as Dean was, we need to think of ways of describing ourselves. So the other thing you do when a business changes, or when it doesn't change, is you rewrite the strapline. So I quite like to empower individuals, get back to individuals, development, all that stuff, to become great professionals and outstanding leaders. Really good stuff, this. It took me a week. To think and act with confidence, then I thought, well, let's have a little joke here and add conviction. And after the financial crisis, no one even thinks that's funny, but I can tell you, not a single Henley MBA graduate is in prison after the financial crisis. BBA one is, but we'll leave that one to one side. Have any of you heard of the Imperial College Business School? It was founded by a man called Tanaka. So Imperial College, there's botany or engineering, not development, of course that's us, they do engineering. And a guy wrote to them in 1992 saying, my name is something or other Tanaka. I have an MSc in shipbuilding from Imperial College. I've been around the world. I've traded on the NYSE. I've made $500 million. I'd like to give back. This is a hint for the MBA alumni. Whenever he says give back, just get worried. And I'd like to give you £25 million to establish a business. Yeah, thanks a lot. And I'd like to be called the Tanaka Business School. Right? He's a man of ego, you understand? His name was Tanaka, so we'll call it that. And there's a nice website, Tanaka Business School, big picture, Mr. Tanaka, lovely strapline. Everything I know, I learned in Imperial. Not bad, eh? Up goes the building. 6 weeks after the building opens, he's arrested for insider trading. They removed the everything I knew I learned at Imperial quite quickly. The other funny thing about it was they'd only spent 12 of the 15 of the half the money. They kept the money to use for other things. And then they realised that insider trading, the SEC are after the money that's unspent. So Imperial College also holds the record for blowing £10 million very, very quickly. Anyway, we're jolly good at what we do. Forgive the rather, I'm giving you the detailed thing. We're jolly good. It's another quaint thing. What do we do? We can think about what a business school does in terms of things that we do. And you'll be pleased to know to the top there I put, we know what we do. That's a bit of a relief, because in the 1950s, the reason we dropped the colon was we realised we didn't know it. So that changed what we really do. As a good business school, you'll notice that these are our areas of expertise, and deliberately, I balanced up an academic subject with a business. So we have real estate with planning, we have leadership, organisations, behaviour, and so on. Henley has always stood for applied work. Okay. We're now a much bigger business school than when some of you encountered us for the first time. We have undergraduate, master's, PhD, and so on. There'll be a test on those numbers, but I made them up anyway. Right. I go for precision as dean, so I had to try and think of ways to talk about rankings. And rather than just putting rankings up, I thought, are we any good at whatever it is that we do? Because I knew you wouldn't know what we do, because I didn't have time to talk about it, because I didn't quite start there. So yes, we are. It would be an unusual dean who puts up a slide saying, are we any good at whatever it is that we do? And the next slide says, no, actually, we're rubbish. But we're all right at it. Every business school will put slides up, we're really good. We're number 2 in the UK, number 22 in the world. If 22 doesn't sound a lot, here comes another fine statistic. There are, according to the European Federation of Business Schools, 16,297 business schools in the world that they recognise as business schools. Because you want to feel how good we are, divide 22 by 16,900, whatever number I made up just now, and you get quite a lot. So we are very good. You know, is 22 splendid, or 36, or whatever number you like? The answer is, what it means is 99.5% of business schools in the world, and therefore 99.95 MBA holders, are envious of us. Think about that. Let me tell you if you're not sure. Thank you very much. Okay, we can talk about alumni. This slide is there only to point out that, you know, we're a big business school, much bigger and doing many more things than just happening in Johannesburg. We're good at undergraduate programs, exec ed. You know, again, if we look at this, 12th in the world for running corporate corporate overseas programs, you know, isn't bad. So corporate programs, of course, are companies pay us to deliver training. No marketing, so they come to us saying, would you do this? So we're up there kicking around with the others. You notice we're the only foreign business school accredited here. It'll be a complete pleasure to know that we're also accredited by the ACCTT, which is the Accreditation Council of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you. We extend fraternal greetings to our friends further west. Do we bother thinking about whatever it is that we do, but we do whatever it is that we do quite well? Yes, we do. There's a pile of research stuff. You can see this later on. Look it up on the website. It's awfully good. Is that right, John? Sorry. Is that right? Okay. You could tell he's tearing up his notes. Basically, that's what John was going to say. I was going to talk about entrepreneurship. And my God, he's got a lot to say about the sense for engaging leadership. You can't engage all of them. You know, we're 10th out of 29, oh, who cares? Here's some examples of the sort of research we do. This is slightly more interesting. I do finance. Commodity futures prices, evidence on forecast power, and so forth. What's important about that? It's complicated stuff. What will that do? I've got 25 slides, I can go through it. But I'm a bit hazy on equation 13. So what we've got there is a range of research going from really technical stuff that nobody is going to use outside the research centres of investment banks, through credit stress testing, you know, about the most important thing that's blowing up in, I use blowing up metaphorically, in financial markets at the moment. Number 3, when do you sack a football manager? Slightly more applied and of popular interest. I'm told by my colleague the answer is as frequently as possible. And last but not least, examples of history, which points out, quite importantly, that the first credit crisis that was recognised as a credit crisis was in the year 1298, in the reign of King Edward I. And for those of you who've been doing your homework, that's 200 years before the first Henley was burned down. Okay? And there's a credit crisis which almost exactly mirrors what happened in 2008. Is that interesting? Yes, it's nice, because you get nice slides of pictures of funny armour. What it also tells us, the really important one, back to the thread of this, slightly more serious thread of this, crises and things always happen. The fact that the analysis hasn't changed in 600 years is either a source of great concern, or it actually says our job as managers is to ride the storm, not to try and predict when it comes. Right? Something horrible is going to happen. Okay, number 1. Number 2 is, we'll all swear it's the worst thing that's ever happened. We'll all do nothing about it. And it'll happen again. Right? So it's about riding storms, not predicting them, not nullifying them. When do you sack a football manager? The moment he says, we've been relegated, it'll never happen again. Right, there's a cohort of people. Those are the first 8 people No, that's 9 people. Although if that was a really good deal, I'd say it's 8 people and 2 dummies, just to prove I'm right. I'm not quite sure. Obviously in Henley we travelled in style. You'll notice 10 people come off 2 coaches. Although it might be British engineering and one of them broken down on the way. Okay, it's slightly odd. This chap seems to have trouble with his trousers. These ones, looking very elegant with their pipes coming out of their pockets. These ones are obviously either coming back from Bender or expecting one, because they're still in dinner jackets the following day. That's the Henley style, Okay. Whatever it is that we do it all over the place. It's a technical term. There's a map. The map is blue. I have no idea why. The map in a rather nice British imperial tradition doesn't bother with the Americas. Which appears to be an aspiration for all of us. The dots are there to prove all of the interesting things that have happened in Henley over the years. These are all, the dots in subtly different ways are places in which we have worked or do work or run contracts of various sorts. What should we do from this? Answer, there's a lot of dots. Right? Anyone who says we're not an international or others, the trick is show me how many institutions run serious programs in as many places as that. If you remember slide 1, those decades ago before doors opened by themselves, or in your case you wish the floor would open below me so we can get on with it. You'll notice that Henley, you'll remember Henley where my office is, big white building. You'll notice Henley in Johannesburg. If you're not sure where that is, you're in it. Although if the safety briefing was anything to be worried about, you're in it at the moment, but it may not be here at the end of the evening when we've all gone to the break. You notice, therefore, it's a white building, right? There's an international network, gosh, there's places there. This one is the Administrative Staff College. You'll say, John, I remember. Henley was called the Administrative Staff College. Yes, in Hyderabad is still the Administrative Staff College, founded on the Henley model in 1952. And I looked at the website earlier, there's a picture. The reason for showing it is you'll notice connection. Oh look, it's a white building. There's another white building. So the other thing is our reach is truly global. Wherever you go in the world when you see a white building, it's either Henley or it wishes it was. Website that I've ever seen about it. That's it really. Thank you very much. I hope that was a fun. I'd just like to say before I finish that had the lapel mic worked, it would have been so much different. John, my friend. One of the other things about him, important institutions, is you can get through Dean so bloody quickly, you've got no idea. He walks into the room as Dean, he leaves the room as nothing. Please, rescue yourself.
So what do you do after that? English, really. Brilliant. Where am I? Do I have a...
The batteries run out now.
Well, I'm going to be very quick. I'm going to be the straight man, in every which way, okay? So I'm not going to try to be funny, it would just be terrible. John, that's amazing. Did we record that? Word by word? Have we got it all? Words and all? Great, we've got a video, we've got it. Forever. Okay, all those bonuses, all those raises, sorted now. No problem at all. 20 years, I think, of prosperity now for all of you. I'm going to tweet it tomorrow. Okay, no problem. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about us. And some of you have seen this, but you're at dinner the other night. So I'm going to go really, really fast, but I just can't follow that. So, what can I say that's even marginally funny about this?
We'll go backwards.
Okay, so I will. So based on that glorious tradition of English written humor, self-effacing kind of stuff that goes on, which is a great example of what it does, we've become somehow global. And we've been here for 25 years. So we thought we would really think about how to do business school and what it means here in South Africa, and we think this is what it's about. And so building on everything John said about the method, the experience, all that, what we try to do is build business, have a business school that makes businesses and institutions work, make it better. Because when all's said and done, you know, we actually have a job to do, and that's to build South Africa and build businesses. And that's quite a serious job right now. And our job is not to play around with being a business school. And that's another thing I really like about John's sort of self-effacing way. You know, it's not standing there being pompous and talking about business school. He's just taking the mickey out of it. And that's a really good thing, in a really good way. And why that is, because we're not American. We don't do that thing. We actually are very, very proud of what we really want to do. We seriously want to build businesses. We want to use what we know to do that. And not to be puffed up and, you know, tell everybody about ourselves. We actually really want to do that. I told you I was going to do it straight now. So we've been here a quarter of a century, and John's told you that. I did quarter of a century because I read somewhere that if you're in America, you know, nothing lasts much more than 10 years. So if you've been around for 10 years, you say a decade in Schubert, you know, or half a century, whatever it is. So a quarter of a century sounds better. This you will have seen. Go to the website. It's just more validation of some of the things that John has said. And again, it matters, I suppose, because rankings and all that have some interest to everybody and some sign of death. But I really think, if I could just say that what indicates our value more is the sort of wit and the intelligence and things of the people around him. And I'm not going to look at John because he'll get very short of result. But that's a pretty good example of it. You know, that's what we're about. You know, it's about interesting people doing interesting things. It's not a bureaucracy. It's a collection of warring factions of people with different ideas. You know, exploring what business means. That's a really interesting place to be. And when you get those sort of people around, you get these sort of results. That's what happens. You get a really interesting place, not somewhere that's a university bureaucracy. And talking about universities, of course, I'm going to say that we're one of the top 1% universities in the world, according to the Global Cyber ranking, for research. And University of Reading is John missed out that bit, I'm very pleased to say, is a 150-year-old university, set up by a couple of Oxford dons. Is that right, John?
Yeah, but a couple is in the Henley, it might be 6 or 7.
And became famous as a previous Vice Chancellor, done for beer bowls and biscuit sponsorship, so agriculture, brewing, and I don't know where biscuits came from. I think it was the McVitie Foundation supported the university. That's a parent university. And from all that, just in Henley Business School, the alumni network that we are part of, that Goodrich is going to talk later, is going to launch, is ranked by economists as the #1 network business school in the world. That's really interesting when you think about Harvard. And we're in 70,000 alumni from 150 countries, 7,500 LinkedIn. We've got something like 100,000 on our Twitter group just in South Africa. So this is a community. That's a worldwide community with, I think, places in 40 countries you can engage with alumni. And we want you to be part of that. And we want to launch this alumni network here in South Africa. And the old alumni, and I don't mean old in any sense either. Please stand up, Chris, just for a moment. This is Chris now. So, are there any other people from the first South Africa intake here? Please stand up. Okay. So this is 1995, the first lot. Wow, this is, you know, when Andy Andrews set it up, when it was run by, afterwards by Frank Holloway. So these are people who've been setting up the alumni network, and I hope that you will all start to connect. And now we've got about 1,000 MBA students in the running at the moment. You've got 1,000 current students, you've got a whole bunch more, another 2,000 or 3,000 exec ed students over the last couple of years. You've got a big, interesting network to connect with. So we're going to make that happen for you all. And I hope that some of you will step up and help us run that, because this is really about getting that alumni network going. I'm not even going to talk about it. I am going to talk about this, though, because Henley's changed a lot in South Africa. We came with 7 people, and you've got Colleen sitting over there. Colleen, stand up. 20 years. 20 years. And Vivian, where's Vivian? Stand up, please. 17, 18 years. Nursing MBA students out and through. Thank you very much. We've got people like this, and this is part of who we are. So we carried on fairly small for a while, and then about 4 or 5 years ago we started growing rapidly. And you see we've gone from 97 to 300 MBA students, and we heard today actually that, may I say this, I'm going to say it anyway, that Gibbs reckon the only people they're worried about in terms of competition now are us. You know, although we don't have it, how cool is that? Yeah. And we're going to carry on growing. And that's this kind of drive we have to build a business school. We came from a small thing to something bigger. We're just on the cusp of something else I'm going to talk about in a moment. We'll get a lot larger. That's our revenue growth. It's 500% in 4 years. And this is interesting. We've gone from about 20%, black Africans in abroad to, 65, 75, 72%, 75% I think, in about 4 years. And those people are taking exams, peer assessed in the UK. They're taking exams with the French and the Germans, Italians, blind, nobody knows who they are. They're taking exams in third language. And the last exam results they did as well, if not better than all those French, Norwegians, and Germans. That's South Africans. What do you think of that then? Pretty cool. That's what we have now. So we really are going to try and build those businesses with those people. The other thing that's happened is that Henley Africa has become quite substantial. I didn't know until yesterday, actually, that Henley Business School in Africa is now the largest operation of any overseas operation of any university in Britain. Any university. Yeah, this is apparently the largest. And we've actually got something like 55-60% of the total global MBA intake that Henley University of Reading has around the world, including Britain, here now. We're hoping that's going to grow, but not that much. Now tonight, Paul Runga, who I'll introduce in a minute, has been helping Audrey and the others with a whole new drift we're doing. We're really working on Africa success story. We don't want to be academic about that. We want to share stuff about how people are doing business in Africa. We've got people who are doing business in Africa. We're presenting you those. We're going to have a whole thread of that. We're having an Africa business elective put through. And over the next year or two, you're going to see us not only getting into Africa, but sharing stories of people who've done good business. Not being academic. We want to help people build businesses in Africa too. So we're going to really work with that. The other thing we're getting quite well known is when I did my MBA, 25% of the whole bunch of them got divorced within a year. Including me. And
he was the one in the middle.
Quite that long ago, John. Really. And my parents went black. I'm working on that. So why on earth should you do an MBA that's going to mess up your family and mess up your kids? I mean, how derelict is that? You've got people designing education that messes up families. How stupid is that? Surely we can do things better. So we've launched this idea of a family-friendly MBA. And we had a big article in the Independent a couple of weeks ago in the UK and here about the family-friendly MBA. So parents, partners come together. You see a room full of kids over there. We do that regularly. We have sessions throughout the year, bringing in people talking about resilience and positive parenting and all those other things to help people navigate the path of the MBA and keep it. Who's doing the MBA? And that has experienced that. Did you see that? Yeah, does it work? Yes. Thank you. That's enough. Yes, it's work, he said. So we're doing that. We're getting quite well known for that, actually. I'm sorry, this thing's on auto forward. The other thing we're getting quite well known for, and by the way, we want to get known for this, is the one thing we're really strong about competitive advantage. I thought that if all the business schools start imitating us, it would be a really good idea. Because if we lose our competitive advantage, right? If we lose our competitive advantage, a lot of families
just a
don't.
little bit seasick. It's part of the game.
The other thing we're doing is we're working a lot with but I love this lady. I mean, I didn't notice. I looked at that picture for I don't know how long, and eventually I realized how squint she was. You see that? She's an absolutely charming woman. We met at NGO in Cape Town. Amazing woman, just radiating enthusiasm. Anyway, we work with a lot of communities as part of our executive education. We work with something like 200 NGOs now. We put in all that sort of stuff. Well, we have a whole range of scholarships. This year our scholarship theme is reducing teen pregnancy and HIV transmission among schoolgirls. We gave 2 scholarships of that. We have another whole initiative where we're driving that through into the township. We're doing a whole load of work around that, which the staff are getting involved in, right? Yeah, the staff getting involved, we're doing those things. And that's really part of what we do. So we really want to be engaged. We don't really want to be a pompous business school. We just want to be a fun business school that does good work and does really good quality education. I don't know what that said. Please, spend it. Okay, that I'm going to jump past. What I'd like to talk about is a little bit from that growth, what's going to happen next. So I've been in board meetings with John and others who, having panel beaten me into shape rather a lot, in a good way, have kind of fundamentally agreed that what we're going to do is, as we grow, we're going to set up establishments there in the next year or two. We're also going to be developing focus areas. I want to focus on the School of Consumer Business, retail. We're working with a food retailer to do Pan-African programs and take management staff from all those Pan-African operations and teach them how to run businesses. We've got a school of coaching emerging, and we've got a couple of people here who've done our international coaching program. Danny and Barbara, you're over at the back, and they've been working coaching. We also got a large school of business development, all the other work. It's a thing we've just launched in Puleng. Where are you? Puleng here tonight? Oh, she's ill, sorry. Well, we've just taken Puleng Mkwade up from Lesotho. She's joined us, just finishing her PhD in innovation. We're going to start a school of branding, innovation, etc. We have a number of contacts. We're going to run branding programs, Pan-African branding programs, helping companies innovate. We're going to do a lot of work with that and customize. And then I hope we're going to launch a school of public and private health management. Certainly we're working on infrastructure and major development project management. So what we're trying to do is develop African managers and African leaders to run those incredible number of projects that are going to start emerging as African GDP raises tenfold over the next 30 years. We want African managers, African leaders to be doing that. That's our mission. So we're going to focus on that area, and also a school of frontier markets, particularly focusing on facilitating China-Africa trade and China-international trade, doing visits to those countries, and working with people like Paul Runga to teach us how to do that. And this is just part of our growth. Okay, that makes sense? And as we grow, we've grown 500% in the last 4 years. I hope we're going to grow at least 300% in the next 5, maybe more. I hope a lot more than that. And this Henley that is yours, as part of this global network, I hope you will engage with. I hope you'll be proud of it. I hope you have a lot of fun doing it. So I've run out of anything even approaching humor, so I'm stopping now. And what do I do now? Do I pass over to you? Thank you. I'd like to introduce Gudrun Kuhlmeier, who is head of our global alumni all the way from England, ex from Germany, and thank you. You want that? Or do you want that?
This is the new approach. This is now proving that we've got 2 minutes.
Some things do work. So hello everyone. My name is Gudrun. As John said, I'm heading up the alumni relations at Henley Business School in the UK, and therefore also the global Henley alumni operations. And to tell you a little bit more about the Global Alumni Network, John has already shared with you some of the figures, 70,000 alumni in over 150 countries. It is a really diverse community because the alumni community is made up from alumni from across all the different programs that the school has run and is running, right through from undergraduate, masters, MBAs, DBAs, PhDs, executive education. So it means it's a really diverse community, not just geographically, but also in the type of businesses they work in, and also the various generations. With 70 years of history, of course, there are many generations of alumni in that network, and of course, you're part of that. You may ask, why should you care? I think it offers many opportunities for you at the Global Alumni, and you can really tap into this network here in South Africa as well as globally. There are nearly 40, actually, John, you need to update your slide, rather 15 plus, there are nearly 40 international alumni groups and associations, and they organize activities and really form the active Henley Global Alumni community. So whether you find yourself traveling in Dubai, in London, in Canada, China, you will You will be able to connect with Henley International Alumni Group or Association, and you can maybe attend an event if you happen to be in town on the day. Or, even better, if you connect with alumni, possibly through LinkedIn, in those cities that you visit, get some insider knowledge about what to do, build your business connections, learn about the local scene before you do your trip, so that it really is there as a very valuable resource, and we can only encourage you to really make use of that. Another opportunity is happening in the UK next May. We will run the Henley Global Masterclasses. You may have spotted some of the flyers downstairs. This is the 2.5-day program of faculty presentations, spanning really the whole breadth of the university during that time. So there are the faculty sessions, and then some social sessions as well that you can engage in. And in this anniversary year, it will also be followed by a big 70th anniversary dinner for alumni on the Saturday night. So it runs from Thursday morning until probably kind of 1 o'clock in the morning on the Sunday. I can only encourage you, if you can come, please do join us for that. We're calling it Henley Global Masterclasses, so our ambition is to grow that and actually take this on the road eventually. The more people come, the bigger it becomes, the sooner we can do that. So I can really only encourage you. Audrey is going to tell you a little bit more about the Alumni Association we would like to form here in South Africa in a moment. One plea from me, and this applies whether we're talking about the Global Alumni Network or the local alumni network in South Africa, please do keep us updated when your contact details change, because that's the only way we can tell you about what's going on and to connect with you. So my plea for you is, please do become active, use the resource that is there, and over to you, Audrey. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to just mention to you on the South African side, all the stuff that we are planning for you in the years ahead, and specifically for next year. We would like to see all of you. Can you hear me? Yes. I hear myself here. We would like to see all of you in all these events going forward. And there are mainly three things that we offer, or three categories that we would like to offer to the alumni in South Africa. The first is under events that we plan for you in the year ahead. For example, the family-friendly events that we have every month. You can, if you don't have children here tonight, please go and have a look in the red room on the other side, where we are entertaining the children while you are enjoying this talk here. And we do that monthly, where we get speakers and we invite the whole families to come and join us here at Henley. We also have the Africa series, of which you're going to see an example of tonight, which we offer on a quarterly basis, and we invite all of you to come and listen to success stories in Africa. And so it goes on with all other events that happens here at Henley. We invite you as the network of the South African alumni. The second thing that we offer is networking, which is very important to keep this big network going. You heard 70,000 people. I don't think you can get a bigger network anywhere else in the world. So you are all part of this network. We plan for you for getting together as groups, as classes, to have almost like reunions with dinners and with events that we manage. We start in blogs where conversations can take place. We're very busy on social media. So we would like to create these networks for you. We need all your information so that we can always stay in contact with you. We're also planning next year on starting satellites in Durban and in Cape Town. I realized that we have a lot of alumni who reside there, and they're asking us, so where do we get events? Because we never see events, it's all in Johannesburg. So we're going to start that with an alumni network going forward. And then the third thing thing that is the third, last but not the least, we also want to start a hardship fund in South Africa where you donate money as alumni, and when some of your fellow students who are currently studying have some financial difficulties or something happens in their lives, like it happens to many of us, we can support those students to complete their studies. So we're going to start all these things as this network, the official South African, we can call it that now, the official South African Alumni Association. And we're going to communicate with you very soon because we need to put a committee together who's going to drive this with us at Henley. So if you can think of people who can represent us, please let us know, but we will be communicating with you soon. So that is on the South African side. Okay. Are there any questions that you have for John and John? To the deans that you would like to put at this point in time?
Don't risk it, bye-bye.
Any questions? All happy?
No, this question, okay, just wait. Just cogitate. Let me start. When are we going to start? Yeah, we're actually going to start in the next month or two, yes. I saw that whisper. The next month or two we're going to do it. We hope to have events starting from about February, March next year regularly. Who'd like to volunteer to help set up some events? Who'd like to volunteer to help set up? Thank you. Take that man's name quickly. It feels like one of those time timeshare things. Okay, there's 3. Okay, we also need somebody old guard. Yeah. Thank you, Alpha. Chris. Thank you very much. And the other thing is that what would you like? We were thinking we could do events here. We could take out a restaurant. We could have presentations from people who have joined into the Africa Success Series. A whole range of things. What we want to do is not actually be an alumni network that is asking you to give us money particularly. That's not the point. Oh, part of the point. Okay, that's not the real point. We actually want to do something useful to you. So this should be something where we also continue to pay back to you and create useful events. So, and then we will engage in some of the global activities, like a series of global webinars that you do. Okay? So what Gudrun does is run webinars which we can dial into, fantastically interesting talks you can listen to.